Hi, so for my Tiny Teaching 2, or my second lesson, I'm going to be teaching you guys an activity. It's called Hunger Hand Cues. It's based on our first lesson about intuitive eating. Um, Hunger Hand Cues, it's an instructional learning activity in which you guys will be participating in. And it's just going to go into depth a little more about how you can really focus on eating intuitively. So, does anybody remember what intuitive eating is? Or what it is. Intuitive eating is when you eat according to what your body is telling you, how you're feeling physically. It's eating mindfully. You're mindful about what you're eating. You're not eating emotionally. You're eating because you feel this way or that way. So we're going to be doing an activity based on that, and it's going to help you really apply intuitive eating to your everyday lives. Okay, so like I said, the activity is called Hunger Hand Cues, and we're going to be using our hand. So everybody take your hand and put it up like that. Okay, now we're going to break our hand down into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not very complicated. I'm going to teach you what each finger means according to this activity. So, number 1 means that you are starving, your stomach hurts because you're so hungry. It could be growling. You might feel weak or, like kind of delirious. So that's number 1. It's like you feel like you need to eat right now. Number 2 means that you are hungry, but you're not starving. You're hungry enough to the point where you could eat a meal, but you don't feel like you're dying or you need it immediately, like you're normally hungry, you could say. So 1 is you're starving, you need to eat right now, you need it. 2 is you're hungry, normally, the normal everyday hunger. 3 means that you're not hungry, but you're also not full. You're comfortable. You could eat, maybe not, You're in the middle. It's right in the middle, just like your middle finger. 4 is when you're comfortably full. You've just eaten a meal. Your stomach feels good. It's not too full. It's not still hungry. It's comfortable. 5 is you are extremely full to the point where you feel sick. That's you literally feel like you could throw up because you're just so nauseous and you just ate too much and you feel extremely yucky and like you wish you hadn't eaten that much. Okay, now I'm going to tell you about the rules. So we know that the thumb is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like a spectrum, like from starving to full. Now, if you are eating intuitively, you should never, ever, ever, well, not never, ever, but you should rarely, I don't like to speak in extreme terms because that makes it, that's not what intuitive eating, or normal eating is. So, 1, you should rarely be at a 1, and you should rarely be at a 5. You should try and stay between 2 and 4. Okay? So you rarely want to be starving, and you rarely want to be way too full. Now, I understand that that's definitely going to happen. It's part of eating normally, that you're not going to eat enough sometimes, and you're going to be super hungry, or you're going to go to a Christmas party and overeat, So it really depends. But on average, you should be between 2 and 4. Now, before you eat a meal, you should be at a 2, and after you eat a meal, you should be at a 4. Now, if you're eating 3 meals and 2 snacks, like we discussed in the last lesson, every day, then when you wake up, you should be at a 2. Then when you eat breakfast, you'll jump to a 4. Then you have a snack. So your hunger kind of goes down. So like maybe 2 hours later, you have a snack, then you're up to a 4 again. So like you're at 3. If that makes sense. Like after breakfast, after 2 hours, your hunger you're going to get a little hungrier, so you'll be at the 3. You'll have a snack, you'll be back at the 4. Then for lunch, you'll be back at the 2. You'll have your lunch, you'll be at the 4, and so on. So basically, using this little like activity and little lesson will help you really maybe give it more of a direct way of seeing it, and oh, am I starving, or am I too full? It kind of breaks it down a little bit. Now this is more this activity is more for I guess actually it's really for everybody. It's kind of put in more of a kid-friendly way, but sometimes when we think about eating normally and listening to our bodies, we have to go back to how it was as a child, because most children, not a lot of children, eat intuitively. They eat when their bodies tell them to. A lot of times, as we get older, it's harder to do that, and which is why there's so many adults who are obese, and they try these crash diets and stuff like that. Now, someone with an eating disorder, someone who's bulimic would, if I want to apply that to this lesson, would always eat at a 5. They would eat at a 5, and then obviously they would purge in ways of vomiting, exercise, laxatives. So that's showing that, for example, someone with bulimia does not eat intuitively, because they're doing that so often, to where eating at their 5 so often. And compulsive overeaters, same thing. Always binge eating disorder, always at a 5. They're always eating to the point where they're way too full. Anorexia, they're always at the 1, or most of the time at the 1. So, if you see what I'm saying, they're not in this full spectrum. They're very extreme. Okay, so if we focus on eating intuitively and listening to our bodies and staying between the 2 and the 4 in most cases, then our bodies will be healthy and normal weight for your height. And so, yeah, thank you guys for listening.